All right, now we always talk about the issue of the day, etc., but I want to talk about some things here that chucks the heck out of me have not been an issue since the primaries. First, how about the faith factor? We haven't heard boo, as Dominic said, about Reverend Wright here, or for that matter, all the talk about Mormon faith here of Mitt Romney. Tell me the last time you heard that discussed. Also, how about the missing tax returns? Remember when Harry Reid said this back in August?
So the word's out that he hasn't paid any taxes for 10 years. Let him prove that he has paid taxes, because he hasn't.
I must have missed it. We haven't been talking about those returns, have we? And how about the Bain years? A lot of discussion about Mitt Romney's time at Bain Capital earlier in the campaign, but yet not a peep during the debates. And how about that super PAC money? I know it's real. I know some of it's been spent, but this election was supposedly going to be turned on its ear by the super PACs, overrun by third-party money and all the issues they take us off in tangents on. Maybe I missed it. It didn't seem to have as huge an impact as at least some of us may have expected here. I thought, Evan, I'll start with you, that there were soft spots of Mitt Romney that would have been exploded by surrogates of the president. And I thought there were more attacks in the primary than the general about the Bain years, et cetera. I mean, we've got situations and companies that if he wanted to make the point that he was Mr. Outsourcer, we would have seen more of. Tax returns, never heard about the missing returns at the debates. So either Reid was full of it or the Democrats never followed through, but it's one or the other. Either way, they've left a lot of stuff on the table if they wanted to take some cheap shots, and they didn't.
Well, I don't know if it's a cheap shot or not, but certainly Bain workers were featured at the Democratic National Convention when I was down there in Charlotte. They had folks who lost their jobs after being laid off when Bain bought their business. But the tax returns we really haven't seen very much
Evan,
of.
we got a company right now where the workers, Bain related, are having to train their Chinese counterparts, okay? The flag coming down, and I mean, it's made for TV.
100%.
Why the president hasn't stood in front of it and say, this is not who I am, this is who Mitt Romney is, or something. It's like people are doing his work for him. I don't get why they left that on the table.
Listen, there's a whole lot.
Are you with me?
Well, I think there's an embarrassment of riches when it comes to having opportunities to attack Mitt Romney. The question is whether or not they've exploited all of them. And, you know, I think, you know, the tax returns really raises a good question. He's put out 2 years of tax returns. When his father ran for president 40 years ago, he put out 12 years of tax returns. Mitt Romney put out 2 years of tax returns and then gave a summary, some kind of average of the previous 20 years.
You know what? He got away with it.
He completely got away with it, and he hasn't been held accountable for it.
But you know what? I would argue that without necessarily banging on those specific drums, the echoes of those issues that were brought up earlier still resonate throughout this campaign.
You're right, Andrew. But if you ask, not the five of us who do this every night, if you ask somebody, tell me about the Bain years and explain how he's paying what he is paying for a tax rate while you're paying double, if not triple, and tell me exactly why it's good for the economy to ship jobs overseas, whether that's an oversimplification, which I know it is or not. The average Joe doesn't know about that.
But it does go into the overall impression of Mitt Romney as a person, as what he did before he was a presidential candidate, and you saw echoes of it in the debate also. When you know,
I think in Denver he disproved it.
You're the last person in the world who's going to get tough on China. That harkens back to his Bain time. That's you know. That's reaping the benefits of those seeds that were sown months ago.
Dominic, you think urban poverty got a total skip over on this thing, and it's not just the principle, but you think politically he could have rallied the base and he didn't do it.
Yes, well, we hear this every 4 years that that poverty and urban issues should be talked about more, and it never really is. So, if there was one issue that I would like to have seen on the plate, that is one. But to answer your question directly, when the president got his clock rang, or whatever term you want to use, in Denver, that changed the dynamics of everything. Bain and everything else went out the window. They went from offense to defense, and the president may not ever recover from that first debate. We'll see.
What do you think? Are you surprised we haven't heard of?
Well, on a forgiveness, on a more substantive level, and back to the urban poverty issue, obviously a substantive issue that Dominic brings up. The issue that I'm surprised hasn't surfaced yet is education reform. Number one, both sides, I think you could argue, honestly, have a good story to tell. The Democrats have done a lot to sort of combat the issue that they're in bed with the teachers' unions. The Republicans, for whom this is an issue that they've run away from for years, have a good story to tell with regard to reforms, charter schools, vouchers, et cetera. The issue also polls well with women and in the Hispanic community. And these are the two groups that both sides are clawing their way to try to get them to support. So I'm at a loss.
I got to go to break, but you two guys, are you surprised? We were told that the third-party money was going to make, was going to turn this into an election season, something that we wouldn't even have recognized. I know a lot of money's been spent, but it doesn't feel like these guys are going off the reservation. It's in concert with the campaigns. They're not creating their own agendas out here. I thought it's had less of an impact than at least I expected. You guys agree or disagree?
We're not seeing necessarily a lot of the spending because it is in battleground states and there really aren't any that are close. But on top of that, I think you see it every day when Mitt Romney is the Republican presidential nominee. A lot of that outside group, a lot of that third-party money went into making him the nominee, tearing down Newt Gingrich, tearing down Rick Santorum, tearing down whoever was necessary in order to create the nominee that they wanted.
With all due respect to the media, they're obsessed with this issue, and at the end of the day, I don't think it matters.
All right. And on that note, we will ask you to keep your conversation going online. Go to Facebook and Twitter and sound off. Same question that we're talking about at the table here. Which issues did you expect to come up a lot more often than have? Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about hot races in our region. All four of these guys are going to label a race here that you may not be on your radar, but ought to be here. Forget presidential. Balance of power in House and Senate could be decided by a few of these down-ticket races. We'll tell you which ones here could be up for grabs. Stay with us.